Get YouTube fixed? Yeah, my four. Because it's been out last couple of days. Hare Krishna. With the audios of the problem. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Madhava Gopi Janavalabha Girivanadhati Janavalabha Girivanadhati Gopi Janavalabha Girivanadhati Janavalabha Yasodanandana Brajagana Ranjana Brajagana Ranjana Yasodanandana Brajagana Ranjana Brajagana Ranjana Yamunatira Vanachari Yamunatira Vanachari Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopi Janavalabha Girivanadhari Janavalabha Girivanadhari Gopi Janavalabha Girivanadhari Janavalabha Girivanadhari Yasodanandana Brajagana Ranjana Brajagana Ranjana Yasodanandana Brajagana Ranjana Nana Brajagana Ranjana Yamunatira Vanachari Yamunatira Vanachari Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Radha Kunja Bihari Jaya Om Vishnupad Paramahamsa Bhaktivedanta Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ananta Gauda Vaishnavinda ki Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur ki Prem Sakoshi Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasati Gaura Bhaktivinoda ki ISKCON founder Srila Prabhupada ki Shri Shri Radha Krishna Go Gopinath Shamakun Radhakun Giri Govardhan ki Vrindavan Dham ki Mayapur Dham ki Navadvip Dham ki Jamuna Maya ki Ganga Maya ki Tulsi Devi ki Bhakta Devi ki Shri Shri Radha Golokananda ki Stambhaveda Bhakta Vrinda ki Gaura Premanandi. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to Sri Guru and Gauranga. Jaya Jaya Sri Chaitanya Jaya Nityananda. Jaya Dvaita Chandra Jaya Gaura Bhaktarinda. Jaya Jaya Sri Chaitanya Jaya Nityananda. Jaya Dvaita Chandra Jaya Gaura Bhaktarinda. Okay, so we're reading from Chaitanya Charitamrita, and they almost finished the purport on text 139. There's a couple of, I'll read the translation, then I'll pick up where they left off. This is the conversation we're continuing our conversation with Ramananda Roy and Lord Chaitanya, chapter 8, Majja Lila. It's probably one of the most important chapters in the Chaitanya Charitamrita. Chapter 4, Adi Lila, is also one of the most important chapters that discusses who Lord Chaitanya is. So, translation, the very name Krishna means that he attracts even Cupid. He is therefore attractive to everyone, male and female, moving and inert living entities. Indeed, Krishna is known as the all-attractive one. So we know where we got that translation of that. Krishna's name is come from Krishnadas, Ramananda Roy. Okay, a person who is properly purified and initiated by a spiritual master worships the supreme personality of Godhead, Krishna, by chanting this mantra, the Kama Gayatri, with the Kama Bij. As the Bhagavad Gita 1865 confirms, one should engage in transcendental worship in order to be fit for being attracted by Krishna, the all-attractive. Always think of me and become my devotee. Worship me and offer me homage, and offer your homage unto me. Thus, you will come to me without fail. I promise you this because you are my dear friend. Since every living entity is part and parcel of Krishna, Krishna is naturally attractive. Due to the material covering, one's attraction for Krishna is checked. One is not usually attracted by Krishna in the material world. But as soon as one is liberated from material conditioning, he is naturally attracted. Therefore, it is said in this verse, Sarva Chittaraksha Sakka. Everyone is naturally attracted by Krishna. This attraction is within everyone's heart, and when the heart is cleansed, that attraction is manifested. Cheto Darpana Marjanam Bhavamaha Devagni Nirvapanam. That's Anjali, the 2012, but that's the Shishastika verse. Oh my God, Timaran Disha. My Sri Gurave Namaha. So this cleansing process is kind of interesting because a lecture Prabhupada given in the Bhagavad Gita talks about how we start out being affectionate for ourselves. Everybody's affectionate first off and foremost for themselves. And this is how he's describing how we become more entangled into this material world. So the cleansing process is really the reverse operation to become unentangled. That's what it means to be purified and not being entangled. So in the 10th canto, chapter 14, starting around text 50, this is the Brahma Mohan Lila, where he becomes illusioned by Krishna. He's already stolen the cowherd boys. They came back in chapter 14. He's offering prayers. I'm so sorry, And he's chanting a lot of nice verses in there and offering prayers to the Lord and glorifying Krishna. So after he's done, starting around text 50, Sukadeva Goswami starts talking to Maharaj Pariksit about how self-centered we are as the living entities in this material world. And of course, he's using how Brahma was, he wanted Krishna to do something. He wanted to see test him in a sense. So it was like him, wanting the Lord to express himself in a particular way, in a sense, or act in a particular way. So he's talking about how self-centered we are and how this self-centeredness is, even though it's an illusion, it kind of takes over every part of our activities. And it expands, in our house, the cars we drive, nowadays, our family, which is even more prominent. So Prabhupada was explaining that first off, we have affection for ourselves. We're so self-centered. And then we start having affection for another person. We typically get married, and then that affection starts to expand when you have kids, and it just continually grows and grows and grows. And this is a big entanglement that we're experiencing in this material world. And ultimately says it's all artificial, this position. And he kind of even used the example. We talk about this. There's a lot of issues about transgender in today's society. Prabhupada, like 1973, was kind of using that example of how things are artificial. We find ourselves in this artificial condition. He says, like a woman who thinks she's a man. She wants to act like a man. She wants to dress like a man. But that's artificial. Similarly, our position in this material world, we're all conditioned to think we're something that we're not. And he uses that as an analogy. We're all thinking that we're this body. We're all thinking that either we are man or male. We're all thinking that we're the controller. So these are all artificial positions. So in order to this conditioned life we have to reverse that process. And that is to primarily and foremost by chanting, as described here by Srila Prabhupada in its purport. Okay, so we're going to continue reading. We're on text number 140. When Krishna left the Rasa Leela dance, the gopis became very morose, and they were grieving. Krishna reappeared, dressed in yellow garments, wearing a flower garden, and smiling. He was attractive even to Cupid. In this way, Krishna appeared among the gopis. This is the verse from Srimad Bhagavatam 10.32.2. 141. Each and every devotee has a certain type of transcendental mellow in relationship to Krishna. But in all transcendental relationships, the devotee is the worshiper, Ashraya, and Krishna is the object of worship, Vishaya. Let Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, be glorified by virtue of his expanding, attractive features. He subjugated the gopis named Taraka and Pali and absorbed the minds of Sham and Lalita. He is the most attractive lover of Srimati Radharani and is the reservoir of pleasure for the devotees in all transcendental mellows. Purport. Everyone has a particular transcendental mellow for which he loves and serves Krishna. Krishna is the most attractive feature for every kind of devotee. He is therefore called Akila Rasamita Murti, the transcendental form of attraction for all kinds of devotees. Whether the devotee be in the Sanat Rasa, Dasha Rasa, Sakti Rasa, Vatsalya Rasa, or Madhurya Rasa. This is the opening verse of the Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu by Srila Rupa Goswami. So, what that particular relation might be for is, and it could be the same for all of us, could be different. Sometimes people want to know right away what they are. It's kind of a natural inquisitive thing when you're starting to understand. So it's a natural understanding, but then we have to also understand it takes patience. We have to apply patience. Prabhupada said we need patience and we need determination and enthusiasm in order to make the advancement necessary to understand what our Siddhadeya is. This is what is being described. We all have a particular mellow. And it kind of develops. And then you have there's the whole side discussion about, is this inherent or is it not inherent? This is whole inherency discussion. Whether bhakti is inherent. We know that Lord Chaitanya bestows mercy on one. He gives his love in it. And if you're chanting offensively, you will not receive that mercy. And we know in the Madhurya Kandambini by Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, he talks about that Bhakti Devi is completely independent to act. She's not subservient to anybody. She can bestow bhakti, at any point. She's a servant of Krishna, obviously, and so therefore in that capacity. Which is described that it doesn't matter how much austerity one performs, how much money they have, how many disciples they have, how intelligent a person is. These are all different types of opulences that one can have in this material world. None of these are prerequisites for obtaining Bhakti Devi's mercy. She's not subservient. It doesn't matter if you could be the most smartest person in the world. That's not the qualification that she's going to. It's how we described here, is attracting Krishna by our devotional service, by our chanting, that we get Bhakti Devi bestows her mercy on it. So these things will happen naturally, what our relationship with Krishna is. And oftentimes it's revealed by a Rasika devotee. That means we've engaged in, we've been patient enough, we've engaged enough practice that in a lifetime we come in contact with a Rasika devotee, one who's a pure devotee actually acting on their platform. Shamananda was one of those examples where he got a dream. And he actually got that name from, he found a bangle. One of Krishna's, Radharani's gopis came to him and wanted that bangle. He hid it. And then he said, well, I don't know if it's your bangle. So this would happen. He actually had this vision. And I don't know if they described as sprutis, these visions that even people have on Krishna. Bilamangal Thakur talks about this in his book, Krishna Karnamrita, when he had his vision, and he says these visions, like everything else, there's an initial stage of confusion, there's a clearing stage, and then there's the actual stage when we actually see Krishna. At first, you have self-doubt in a sense. But how this actually happens it's obviously with devotional practice. But in the beginning of this Chaitanya Charitamrita, they talked about this fourth dimension. There's no detailed explanation of what this fourth dimension is. We know that Gopal Kumar would often, whether he was in Boma, Vrindavan, here on earth, to some universe, or in Vrindavan, in Goloka Vrindavan, it was almost the same. And almost like he could seamlessly go from one to another. When he finally actually went, he fell into a river. And then he came out of the river, he was in Goloka. He fell in earth Vrindavan. When he came out of the river, he was in Vrindavan. So these dimensions, the only person I really heard talk about was Mahanidhi Swami talk about a little bit about it, because there's not a lot of information. But I saw this one scientist on a YouTube video talk about it, and this scientist was, I forgot, he's a black-bodied scientist, very popular, astrophysicist. And he's really popular, he has shows. Huh? Lagasse or something? Neil, yeah, I think it might be him. So he explained these different dimensions in a way that, people, I guess average people like us can understand it. He says that there's, one dimension is like a highway. You have 2 lanes, and the people are going both ways on a highway. Second dimension is like when you have a 4-lane highway. 2 lanes going each way, and you can actually go around the person, you can go. So you both have 2 lanes, you can go around them. The third dimension is like a bridge. You have one highway going over the top, and they don't interrupt each other. But when you get the fourth dimension, he says that mathematically, scientists, we've been able to explain it. Mathematically, we can figure it out, but they don't know what it is. They can't see it. It's there. They just don't understand what it is or how it acts. And so, don't want to speculate at all about that, but you see these other energies of the Lord come into play. When Krishna reveals himself, or when we find ourselves in a situation, when we've cleared up ourselves, when we purify ourselves to an extent. And we don't even have to be sinless in the sense to get the mercy of Krishna. We just have to have the enthusiasm and the desire. Because as long as we're in this material world, we're going to be contaminated to a certain extent. Our purification comes in our desire and our love to be with Krishna and our service attitude to serve Krishna. And all these other things will just go away. They go away automatically. The natural process of cleansing ourselves happens. Because Lord Chaitanya bestows his mercy on so many different people. Mayavadis, atheists, low-class people, So another way he describes these different dimensions is like on a table, and you could you have a desk, and you lay papers across the desk one way. That's one dimension. And then 2 dimensions, if you lay another row and fill the whole desk up. And then the 3rd dimension, if you have like an organizer of trays, and then you can put the letters or papers in a tray. It says the 4th dimension is like if you can just open up the top of the desk and then go into it, but you don't see anything, So, of course, I found it kind of interesting because I'm thinking about what I read in the Chaitanya Charitamrita, and I'm saying how all this stuff applies, and so it's actually goes to strengthens one's faith. Another thing I watched was this the debate between these 2 scientists and this one guy named Graham Hancock, I think his name is. He's like he originally was a reporter, but he gets into all this. He studied all these pyramids. He's a researcher. And he had a book that came out, Fingerprint of the Gods. It's like in the 70s, his first book. He's wrote about 8 or 10 of them. He's probably one of the most famous people that talks about. He promoted this idea we have hunter-gatherers like the scientists always promote. But he said there's so much evidence to prove that there are an intelligent class of people that's always been here on the planet. And maybe something might have happened, some catastrophe, but they've always been here. There's another class, and he points out all this evidence to prove it. But scientists, they don't want to accept it because all of a sudden it kind of works with their theory against evolution. he defeats them. These guys were pretty amazing how they actually defeated these scientists. And Prabhupada really wanted this. He wanted that the people study this where they could really take on this scientist. Of course, he's the leading guy really in this whole thing. He's got, videos out. And there's this other guy on his side who's a geologist. I call him a geologist, but he went to college for something else, both of them. And then he got into geology, and he reads like 2 papers a day for the last 40 years. These what geologists write, they're peer reviewed, whatever these papers they write about. He knows just as much about it as any PhD. But he's looking at all this not as like an atheist or a. He sees that there's other things going on this planet. Not everything. Our whole life is not that we evolved from apes in a sense. There's these intelligent things. And there's all kinds of things. I'm not going to get off on it too much, but the idea was I see these people manage and deal with these scientists and actually defeat them. Of course, the scientists can't stand them. The only thing they have is to assassinate them, their character assassination. I call these like Dhruta Karmas. You know who Dhruta Karma is? He's Michael Cremo. And he had a book, and they brought this up in this little video I was watching to try to defeat these guys. The scientists brought it up. And so he has his book, he's covered his books. And this is what this other guy is, Graham Nash. He's the same thing, Graham Hancock, I think. Yeah, Graham Hancock. Except he's super popular, same type of books. And that one scientist said, it's just like that Michael Cremo, he's just a Hindu. And he believes that humans were around for hundreds of thousands of years, And the guy says, I'm not here to debate Graham Hancock or Michael Cremo. I'm not here to debate him. I'm here to debate the facts that we have. Really smart. These guys, they didn't realize what these scientists, just because they have a PhD, they think they can just mow over these guys. And it wasn't that way at all. These guys were very intelligent. They knew their stuff. And so anyway, it was that time when I mentioned faith that made me think about it. But devotees like Dhruta Karma, this is some of the things they deal with, which is actually pretty good because this stuff is very popular. People want spirituality. And then when they see people defeat scientists in this way with intelligence, it helps them to further their endeavors or their own path to try to understand who they are. So you can see why Prabhupada thought this was very important. And I was reading the conversation books, and at one point Prabhupada said that take the budget that went to the art department and give it to, who was that first scientist that he had? I'm trying to think of the devotee. Sariputta is one of them, but there was another one from India. Who? Yes, Bhakti Swarup. And so Prabhupada was like cultivating the whole thing. And then one point I read it, and Prabhupada said, take that budget from them. The books are all being published, and give it for them so they can have some, So what's going on, you don't see as much of it, but you can see how they're atheistic. Oh, he's just a Hindu. They just like, Michael Cremo, he's just a Hindu, So they just want to criticize that away, which is unfortunate, but it just reveals how really low class some of these individual atheism really is. And under that condition, it's very hard to be attracted to Krishna and really see things intelligently. It's just they don't see, they just look at a bone and they don't want to see any relationships in these bones or how things develop, or, they just get narrow-minded. Okay. Any comments or questions? We'll keep on going. Sorry, I don't want to get off too far, but, yeah. Yes, their livelihood, yeah. Yeah, and they subsist on grants, and that's how they all make, they're all their researches. They always have to try to get grants. And then one thing that actually came out of that video is if they don't, there's a lot of arguing among scientists. And he says, like, and Graham Hancock said, it's very ruthless amongst these individuals, at times. And if you kind of go away from their, paradigm, what they'll either push you out, you'll get, no grant money. They'll just like kick you out of the academic community in a sense, you know. So they force people, like, it's not blackmail, but like, that to be a free thinker is almost dangerous. You have to think along what they tell you to think. And the other thing is they're the ones that are writing the textbooks. All the kids get educated are being writing it. But they have to constantly change. And he wore this T-shirt. It says, things are always getting older. Because that's the way it is. Scientists have to try to rewrite history. Once they find something else, they got their whatever their dates are, they typically got to push them back. Maybe they study Egypt. Now they think the Sphinx is 8,000 years old. The pyramids are 4. So they have to push their dates. So it was he wears that T-shirt. Things keep getting older as a hit on the scientists, letting them know because they're always changing their understanding in the sense of the timeline. They got like hunter-gatherers. We only had hunter-gatherers 12,000 years ago, 11,000. Nobody cultivated farming, no housing, no communities, no villages, everybody. But then they find this megalith, in Turkey, that's 11,500 years old. And how could hunter-gatherers build this thing? Huge thing with, these, like, they have Stonehenge. You got this. This is a little bit different, but you got these huge stones that have reliefs on them, not carved into the stone. Once they make a stone, this is coming out of the stone. That means when they carved these stones down, they left these other figures like animals and stuff on the side, which is very difficult to do on a 30-ton slab of rock. The one thing to get it smooth and then start carving into it. As you get it smooth, you're leaving things out. This is 11,005, and the hunter-gatherers don't. This is what they're arguing with these guys and beating them, defeating them. Okay, let's keep going. We just try to. The purpose of this is that scientists don't have the answers. That the answers are here in Srimad Bhagavatam, Chaitanya Charitamrita, because their numbers and the numbers that we've been given, we already have all this stuff, given to us by the acharyas, and they're trying to catch up unknowingly, Okay, 145. We're so merciful because we know who we have his address. We know what he looks like. So naturally, its attractiveness is there. Okay, so he also attracts Narayan, who is an incarnation of Sankarshan and the husband of the goddess of fortune. He attracts not only Narayan, but also women headed by the goddess of fortune, the consort of Narayan. 146. Addressing Lord Krishna and Arjuna, Lord Mahavishnu, the Mahapurusha, said, I wanted to see both of you, and therefore I have brought the sons of the Brahmin here. Both of you have appeared in the material world to reestablish religious principles, and you have both appeared here with all your potencies. After killing all the demons, please quickly return to the spiritual world. So Narayan's being is also attracted to Krishna. So that pastime that we'll read later in the Krishna book, where the Brahmin kept having a child that died and over and over, and Arjuna promised to protect the child, and the child died, and then so he goes to, or he'd give up his life. He was like, very serious. He took it, and he thought he was not. But this is all Narayan Maharaj was doing all this behind the scenes in order to get their darshan. So eventually, in search for these children, they eventually came to Narayan Maharaj. That was just a quick. Okay, so purport. This is a quotation from Srimad Bhagavatam 1089, chapter 58. This is second to the last chapter in the 10th canto. Concerning Krishna's endeavor to take Arjuna beyond the material universe, when Arjuna was searching for the sons of a Brahmin. Lord Mahavishnu, who is situated beyond this material world, was also attracted by the bodily features of Krishna. Mahavishnu had actually stolen the sons of the Brahmin and Dwarka so that Krishna Arjuna would come and visit him. This verse is quoted to show that Krishna is so attractive that he attracts Mahavishnu. 147. O Lord, we do not know how the serpent Kali attained such an opportunity to be touched by the dust of your lotus feet. For this end, the goddess of fortune performed austerities for centuries, giving up all other desires and observing austere vows. Indeed, we do not know how the serpent Kalia got such an opportunity. Really, sometimes you think, how did that person get that situation? This is from 10th Canto, chapter 16, text 36. Lord Krishna, this is 148, Lord Krishna's sweetness is so attractive that it steals away his own mind. Thus, even he wants to embrace himself. Actually, I just saw that painting. I don't know who did it, but it's like Krishna sitting on a floor. It's like a marble floor, and I don't know who did it, and there's his reflection on the floor, and he sees his reflection, and he's enchanted by his own, one of the BBT art paintings. I don't know, you remember that paint? You know that painting right offhand? Okay, I actually saw it yesterday, the day before. I saw it going through some pictures. Okay, so this is from the Lita Madhava, chapter 8, text 34. Text 150. Sri Ramananda Roy then said, I have thus briefly explained the original form of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Let me describe the position of Srimati Radharani. So we're still got a little bit left, but here he starts, that you're not the body, similarly, and goes all the way up. Lord Chaitanya once more. First off, he was dealing with everything that Lord Chaitanya was external. All these descriptions that are external. And our devotional service at this point is external. Our activities, deity worship, all these things are external aspects of deity worship. This is on the rules and regulations, all regulate that external part. Do this, don't do that. It's important to stay in the association of devotees. But then the relationship changes as we become internal. We talked a little bit about this sprutis, these visions that come in the future when we're serious and we really get dedicated. So the Raganuga platform is more internal. So now Lord Chaitanya at one point kept saying this is external. Then he starts getting into the internal aspects, and this is where we've been discussing the last few weeks. We're at that level there. In relationships, it's almost the opposite in the sense that when you first meet somebody, there's really no rules. Say a boy and a girl, they meet each other. The first date or two, there's really no rules. There's no commitment. But as the relationship starts developing, then rules come into play. Commitments or monogamous or and if you get married, then you're allowed to do this or that. You have to give up these friends, whatever. So the rules come into play as the relationship develops. That's the material world because we become more and more entangled. The spiritual world is different because we give up. The religion is not the end of the means. It's a process to get to the Raganuga platform in which we have this completely independent liberal position that we're freely able to express our love. In the beginning, we're trained up. When you see Krishna, curtains open, you offer your obeisances. When you see the spiritual master, right immediate. You don't let Krishna wait. That's one of the things we're taught early on. It's not because there's some examples. What happens when you make the Lord wait? And Krishna Lila and Gora Lila. And in Krishna Lila, we have the whole Dhammadarasika, and Krishna was on Mother Yasoda's lap, and then the milk was boiling, and she put him down to, he wanted to be fed, and said, well, just wait, I got to deal with this. And then that set off a whole thing where Krishna, raided the butter and stole the butter and broke the yogurt pots, him and the monkeys, and it set off a whole thing. In Gora Lila, Lord Chaitanya Nimai wanted to go to the Ganges and take a bath. So he told his mother, bring me a garland, some oils and stuff. I want to take a bath. And she says, just a minute. I'll get it in a minute. I will, I could do. And that set off a whole, Lord Chaitanya just went got angry. He tore up everything inside the house. And after he ripped the house apart, he came outside, started ripping up the trees and stuff. So these are lessons, obviously. We don't want to make the Lord wait. This is part of the training. One, we offer obeisance, and then we offer prayers. These are the two things we kind of learn right off the bat. Because with the curtains open, each part of the program, there's prayers offered. When Lord Chaitanya was revealing himself over and over again, he kept saying, offer prayers to each door. Say something, and oftentimes you can't. When Dhruva Maharaj he did all his meditation, and then the Lord finally revealed himself to him, he said, offer prayers. But Dhruva was in such a state of shock, it was like a hubbada. He couldn't say anything. So the Lord took this conch shell and touched Dhruva on the head. And then it kind of brought him out of his initial shock or surprise. And so he's able to offer prayers. And similarly, in the beginning, we offer prayers that the acharyas write. The songs they sing are the songs we sing when we offer prayers to Krishna. And when we get to such a liberated platform, then we'll be able to offer our own prayers from our own heart. Once our heart is purified, we'll be able to sing the songs that come from our heart, that's inside, that we'll be able to bring that out. That's the Raganuga platform. Okay, so 151. Anybody have a comment or anything? Yeah, go ahead. Uh-huh. Uh-huh. Okay. Wow. Yeah. Yeah, she had this vision, it's Spruti, yeah. That was, yeah, no, it was, uh-huh. Yeah. Yeah, no, it has to be, such, like you said, that it's, how it happens, we might not be able to explain it. But you see so many people that they have a history. We have books that it's revealed and these things revealed. And that's thank you for sharing. Coach John was talking about a book in Andrew, there was a vision that he had where he saw the cowherd boys. I'm not going to repeat the whole thing. We don't have time, but even in ISKCON, there are people who have these experiences. And you know that that's true because it's going to happen to everybody at different times. And lots of times what happens, like even in this case of Narada Muni, he's a 5-year-old boy. He leaves the association. He got a little bit of mercy. He got some prasadam. Prasadam means mercy. And he's off on his own. His mother was died. He said the very first thing he had to learn was to overcome fear, especially just traveling around. How are you going to eat? What's going to happen? Especially if you're a young person. And he said once he conquered that one element of fear and he was surrendered and he accepted whatever happens is through the will of the Supreme Lord. I got it coming to me. So this is when we get to a level of surrender, that eventually Krishna revealed himself. Krishna revealed himself very quickly. He got a very, very small expression, which compelled him to even go even more. gave him more enthusiasm to continue on. Okay, thank you very much. All glories to Shri Guru and Gauranga.
Govindam Adipurusham Tamaham Bhajami Govindam Adipurusham Tamaham Bhajami Govindam Adipurusham Tamaham Bhajami Enam Kanbanda Maravindalayatartam Bhavatam Samasitam Buddhasundaram Dandar Pakom Vidamaniya Vishesha Shobha Govindam Adipurusham Tamaham Bhajami Govindam Adipurusham Tamaham Bhajami Govindam Adipurusham Tamaham Bhajami Ananiya Sakale Priya Priti Manti Vasyanti Pantikayanti Niramdakanti Ananda Chinmaya Sadhu Jala Vikrasya Govindam Adipurusham Tamaham Bhajami 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 Adipurusham Tamaham Bhajami Govindam
Durlava Manava Janama Satsange. Durlava Manava Janama Satsange. Taro e Baba Sindure. Shita Atapa Bata Parishana Edina Jamini Jagire. Radfale Sevinu Kripana Durajana. Vivale Sevinu Kripana Durajana. Chapala Sukalaba Lagire. Vedana Yobana Putra Parijana Itike Ache Paratitire. Kamala Dala Jala Jivala Talamala. Kamala Dala Jala Jivala Talamala. Bajahu Hari Pala Nitire. Shravana Kirtana Smarana Vandana Pada Sevana Dashare. Shravana Kirtana Smarana Vandana Pada Sevana Dashare. Pujana Saki Jana Atmani Vedana. Pujana Saki Jana Atmani Vedana. Govinda Jasa Abhilasare. Vajahure Mana Sri Nanda Nandana Abhaya Charanara Vindare. Jaya Radha Golokananda Radha Golokananda Radhe. Jaya Radha Golokananda Radha Golokananda Vishnupad Paramahansa Purijakacharya Asada Satashi Srimad His Divine Grace Abhaya Charana Rinda Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. ISKCON Founder Acharya Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Ananda Koti Vaishnava Vrinda Ki Jai. Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur Ki Jai. Prem Se Kaho, Shri Krishna Chaitanya, Prabhu Nityananda, Shri Advaita, Gadadhar, Sivasati, Gaura Bhaktivinoda Ki Jai, Shri Shri Radha Krishna, Gopa, Gopinath, Shamakunda, Radhakund, Gita Govardhan Ki Jai, Vrindavan Dham Ki Jai, Mathura Dham Ki Jai, Navadvip Dham Ki Jai, Jagannath Puri Dham Ki Jai, Jagannath Swami Ki Jai, Ganga Mai Ki Jai, Jamuna Mai Ki Jai, Srimati Tulasi Devi Ki Jai, Bhakti Devi Ki Jai, Samaveda Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai, Gaur Premanandi. All glory to the assembled devotees. All glory to the assembled devotees. All glory to the assembled devotees. All glories to Shri Shri Guru and Gauranga. O mind, just worship the lotus feet of the son of Nanda, which make one fearless. Having obtained this rare human birth, cross over this ocean of worldly existence by associating with saintly persons. Day and night I remain sleepless, suffering heat and cold, wind and rain. For a bit of flickering happiness I have vainly served wicked and miserly men. What assurance of real happiness is there in the all one's wealth, youth, sons, and relatives? This life totters like a drop of water on a lotus petal. Therefore you should always worship the lotus feet of Lord Hari. Govinda Das longs to hear the glories of Lord Hari. Chant his glories, constantly remember him, offer him prayers, serve his lotus feet, become his servant, worship him, offer him prayers, serve his lotus feet, become his servant, worship him, serve him as a friend, and completely offer him his very self. Govinda, Shri Govinda Das Kaviraj Ki Jai. Let's go. Shri Shastika. Marjanam, Vadavagni Nirvapanam, Shreya Kairava Chandrika Vicharanam, Vidyapadu Jivanam, Anandam Buddhi Vardhanam, Pratipadam Purnamritasvalanam, Sarvatma Snapanam Param Vijayate Shri Krishna Sankirtanam. Victory, Ramanamakari Bahuda Nija Sarva Shaktis, Tatrabhita Niyamita Smaranena Kala, Etadrishi Tava Kripa Bhagavan Mamapi, Durdaiva Midri Shamiha Janina Niraga, Trinada Pisani Chena, Toror Api Saishnana, Amalina Maladena, Kirtaniya Sadari, Najanam Nasundarim, Kavitam Va Jagadisha Kamaye, Mama Janmani Jamanishware, Bhavatad Bhaktir Aituki Twai, Ainanda Tanuja Kingaram, Patitamam Vishame Bhamamudao, Pripayatava Padapankaja, Stita Duli Sadrasham Vichintaya, Nayanam Gadadashidaraya, Vadanam Gadgadarudaya Gira, Ulakir Nichitamba Pukala, Tava Namagrane Vishati, Yukayatam Nimeshena, Chakshusha Pravishayatam, Shunyayatam Jagat Sarvam, Govinda Virayaname, Aslishava Padaratam Pinastumam, Adarshanam Mahatam Garotuva, Deta Tadava Vidatulam Pato, Mat Prananatastu Sevanaparaha. Victory to the Sri Krishna Sankirtan, which cleanses the heart of all the dust accumulated for years and extinguishes the fire of conditional life, of repeated birth and death. This Sankirtan movement is the prime benediction for humanity at large because it spreads the rays of the benediction moon. It is the life of all transcendental knowledge. It increases the ocean of transcendental bliss, and it enables us to fully taste the nectar for which we are always anxious. O my Lord, congregational chanting of your holy name alone can render all benediction to living beings, and thus you have hundreds and millions of names like Krishna and Govinda. In these transcendental names you have invested all your transcendental energies. There are not even hard and fast rules for chanting these names. O my Lord, out of kindness you enable us to easily approach you by your holy names, but I am so unfortunate that I have no attraction for them. One should chant the holy name of the Lord in a humble state of mind, thinking oneself lower than the straw on the street. One should be more tolerant than a tree, devoid of all sense of false prestige, and should be ready to offer all respect to others. In such a state of mind, one can chant the holy name of the Lord constantly. O Almighty Lord, I have no desire to accumulate wealth, nor do I desire beautiful women, nor do I want any number of followers. I only want your causeless devotional service, birth after birth. O son of Maharaj Nanda, Krishna, I am your eternal servitor, yet somehow or other I have fallen into the ocean of birth and death. Please pick me up from this ocean of death and place me as one of the atoms at your lotus feet. My Lord, when will my eyes be decorated with tears of love, flowing constantly when I chant your holy name? When will my voice choke up, and when will the hairs of my body stand on end at the recitation of your name? O Govinda, feeling your separation, I am considering a moment to be like 12 years or more. Tears are flowing from my eyes like torrents of rain, and I am feeling all vacant in the world in your absence. I know no one but Krishna as my Lord, and he shall remain so even if he handles me roughly by his embrace or makes me broken-hearted by not being present before me. He is completely free to do anything and everything, for he is always my worshipful Lord, unconditionally. Shri Shastika Ki Jai.